sermons from the book of Revelation, where Jesus is speaking to the 7 churches of Asia Minor. He gave the words to John, who was to give the words to the pastor to say to the church. And I've done this series before, an interesting series, an intriguing series, tough to prepare for and preach series. And in my spirit, I really felt the Lord saying, now listen, son, you continue time after time to give them the message that I gave them for the church where I stationed them. When are you going to give the message to the people I've given you leadership over? He gave those messages to those pastors to help change the culture of that day and address the ills of that culture. And so I told you in this red letter series, we were going to have a sub-series where I was going to give you messages that God gave me for Bayview specifically, that have to deal with us in 2019, in September of 2019. And that sub-series was, let's heal the world, but let's start with the hood. Because how can we be a church that has a global impact, but we don't impact Skyline? How dare we be a church that has a global impact, but we can't make a difference on Imperial? And so today we're going to do something, it's a little touchy. How many of y'all nervous already? Good. It's a little touchy. And I'm not going to do it by myself. I have a brother and a sister here who are living testimonies and living examples of what God is able to do. And they also have the capacity to tell you about the dangers that our young men and our young women in. And that's why we brought the bridge over here, because they need to hear this. We no longer sugarcoat things in the sanctuary. Because while we're busy trying to watch what we say, people are dying because of what we haven't done. And so today we're going to address this subject, this epidemic that plagues our community, human sex trafficking. We're going to talk about it. We're going to get to the nitty-gritty about it. And so you may cringe in your seat a little. You may clutch your pearls a little. But I'm so confident that we're doing what we're supposed to do, because I just found out a little while ago that people have reached out for help already. So, Bayview, I want you to jump to your feet and help me welcome my brother Armand King, my sister Sierra Robinson. Come on, they're a part of Bayview Church. They're part of our family. I don't know which side they go sit on this time. They tricked me last time. Come on, Bayview, make them feel appreciated and welcome them. All right, we're going back. You're going to have a seat. Today you're going to hear from 2 people who've been in this lifestyle, who survived and who is now thriving afterwards and doing everything in their power to make sure nobody else has to go through what they've gone through. I'm so excited to have them here, and I'm so, humbled. I'm so impressed and overwhelmed by their courage, because, you know, there's a difference between people being proud of their past and people being not ashamed of their past. You know, there's a difference, right? Some people wear their past as a badge for pity and use it to remain in a victimized state, because as long as you're a victim, somebody owes you something. But then there are people like Sierra and Armand who are not proud of their past, but they're not ashamed of it, so they stand up, speak out, and speak on it. They've become a voice for those who have no voice, and their platforms becomes a platform for those who not to be seen. And so I want you to help me welcome them and appreciate them here today. Also, while we're doing that, I always have great ideas, but I never put ideas together by myself. And so I want y'all to help me appreciate Jocelyn Turner, because she helped me with the interviews and the structure. Y'all help me appreciate Jocelyn. Come on, y'all can do better than that. Some of y'all walking around with the right fit on, drinking the right juice. Even though she don't make enough shirts for guys. Listen, before the next Lord's Supper, me and Jocelyn gonna have to come before the church because I have an alt against her because she don't make enough guys shirts. I can't be walking around with these girl shirts on all the time. I need a guy shirt. I'm a grown man. Why the brother can't have, they got the juice, we got the tree, something. I need something. Black man got the power, black man got a credit card, something. Before this time next year, saith the prophet. Now, Sierra, tell us a little bit about you, your background, what you're doing now, just so they familiarize themselves with you before we get into the conversation.
Good morning, Bayview. Today I sit here, I am a social justice advocate. I am also an advocate for human trafficking awareness. I just recently graduated San Diego City College with my psychology degree. And because of the dedication that I put into this work, I was offered a scholarship to go to Point Loma Nazareth University for my BA. In 2017, I started a 501c3 nonprofit organization called Inspired Innovation, where I made myself CEO to a mission that helps our returning citizens coming home enroll into higher education. And when I'm not wearing those hats, I have the pleasure of working in our community for San Diego Youth Services as a case manager to serve the youth that have been exposed to sexual exploitation. So helping them navigate to get their basic needs, tap into their transferable skill sets, and watch them flourish in life, it's not a job, it's a passion of mine.
Well, help me appreciate her. A lot of us are familiar with Armand, but just in case, tell us who you are and a little bit about yourself. Elder.
Elder, my big bro. Well, currently, for the past 7 years, since 2012, launched a nonprofit organization called Paving Great Futures. Me and my two other co-founders are all from this neighborhood. When I say this neighborhood, I mean walking distance from your church. We are from here. I went to Bell Junior High School, Morris. As a young kid, I've been on my own pretty much since I was 15 years old. At that time, I'll call myself, I was a wannabe gang member at that time. Soon after, 16 going into 17, there was a major this epidemic we're speaking of today started in the mid-90s. And looking at a lot of y'all probably around the same age as me, y'all understand and y'all knew when this shift happened where we went into pimping and prostitution. Majorly, it was the cool in thing to do, and I went in right along with my homegirls that I grew up with my whole life. We went in, there was nobody forcing us. You hear the term human sex trafficking, you think of the movie Taken and people being kidnapped and forced into this life. That wasn't our case. We were forced in based off a lack of opportunity, resources, and just a lack of love for ourselves and knowledge of who we were. So I came from that background, and throughout that, I had 8 best friends. 4 of which have all died to murder. One, in 2017, I lost 2 back-to-back within 60 days of each other. One had a service right here in this church, and I didn't remember that until the last service, and I sat here thinking the last time I was in this church, I was actually burying one of my best friends. And those were the last 2 of my friends that were stuck in the life. So this is like Sierra said, this ain't a job, and what I do, it's a passion, and my life goal is to help save as many young men and women from going down the same paths I did, where I had nobody to warn me. We can create those warners now from us and from you guys as well, so that's why we're here.
All right. Yes. So now, human sex trafficking, because we say human sex trafficking, people think, oh my God, like you said, containers of foreign girls shipped over here, mail order brides, whatever they may be. That's what we're thinking. Oh my God, they done been snatched from home and they just thrown into these pits. But that's not always the case. When I first heard the term, I thought taken. I was like, oh my God, they done snatched somebody, bound them up, disoriented, drugged them up, and sold them to the highest bidder, throw them under the jail, throw away the key, and set the bars on fire so they can never get out. But then you think about it, and hearing you from the laws and how they painted the picture, it's not that. So explain just what human sex trafficking is, so they'll know you don't have to kidnap nobody to do it.
All right, so I heard this was I had to turn it up a little bit for this service. I heard y'all was a little bit liver than the other two services. So, excuse me, I will try and keep this, not try, we're going to keep this a little raw. So, human sex trafficking, that's a new term in the past 5 years to myself. Before this, and people in between the ages of 20 and 35, 38, you kind of already know this was just pimping and prostitution when we were young. It was not no human sex trafficking. And in my personal opinion, in my lived experience, I see that term came into play when the word pimp had pretty much become an easy pill to swallow for us. You know, you had Pimp My Ride on MTV, Nelly Pimp Juice, Jay-Z Big Pimpin', you name it, 50 Cent Pimpin'. The word meant nothing to us. If anything, it was a term of endearment. Men wanted to be a pimp. Just to be called a pimp, you felt good when you got called a pimp, even though you weren't really pimping, okay? So the term was okay, all right? So then now you have this new term, human sex trafficking. And it caught me, it blindsided me, but how it got me was when I started noticing these large indictments that were coming into San Diego and wiping out neighborhoods at one time of young, majority men of color, black men. You know, in 1 year, we lost nearly 200 men around San Diego going community to community. But the masses, the churches, the people, we didn't even notice this was happening while your grandsons, nephews, they were getting locked up. And most of us are so immune to us getting locked up that it didn't, like, oh, he did something stupid. He had to have. And we didn't look any further into the situation. So we have this new, now it's being pushed, this awareness, this epidemic of human sex trafficking that we're hearing across the country. And really, like I've said to the other services, this is my first time ever speaking to an audience of mostly people that look like me, although I speak across this country. But the rest of the country is getting awareness. They're getting taught about this epidemic and what's going on, but the communities of color are not being taught about this. Meanwhile, we're 64% of the people being incarcerated for it. So you have your sons, nephews, yourself, who's sitting in here who potentially could be on that line and not knowing, because you're still listening to the rappers telling you it's all good until them handcuffs get on you and you got a 25 to life sentence sitting on your back for something 10 years ago would have got you 7. So we need to know. The laws have changed. Not the awareness of the law enforcement. They knew what we were doing 10 years ago, but it wasn't a hit then. If you weren't a drug dealer, gangbanger, or a fourth waiver, they didn't care about you. But now the target has shifted towards human sex trafficking. And meanwhile, these young men are still out here not knowing what the consequences are and still walking down this path. We need to take up that voice and start letting them know. Because maybe if I would have had somebody tell me, maybe I would have made a little difference. Out of 8 of my friends, not one of us had a father in the home. We had to teach each other how to be men, fathers, how to love, how to be friends. So that's where this difference, the difference in the law is happening, right, and we need to happen.
But give that definition. You said earlier, coercion.
So human sex trafficking, just to keep it real basic right now, it's anything done for gain, selling sex by means of force, fraud, or coercion. Those can be broken down, but those are the basics. Now you got force, meaning I actually physically force somebody to get into this life, which majority of my subculture I'm from ain't no force in this. You know, this is a communication thing. So fraud, you trick somebody into this, you know, where you just basically, you thought you were gonna do one thing, you end up doing something else and selling your body. And you got coercion, which is the most foggy of areas, because that just means where I'm from, most people, you didn't have to put hands or hit anybody. It was 2 people who were impoverished that went into this together for a way out. But now with this coercion piece, it's I just talked you into it, or I sold you a dream, what we would say. So now that's so slippery that anybody can pretty much fall into that. And now you're being charged not with pimping and pandering that might hold 5 years, you're getting charged with this that might have a life sentence for you.
So you mean to say, if a young man says, hey, that's what you're trying to get, well, I don't have the money to give you, but old boy over there got money, and if you go holler at him, he'll give you, that's coercion.
It could be that simple.
So
and it depends on the line that's being pushed
for that.
Yeah, and if you have priors from 10 years ago where you happen to do something else and got in trouble, then this happens, yeah, now you're stacked up. Now you go to jail. Easy.
So, Sierra, I want you to talk about how when you can tell them what age you got involved in the life, how it happened, but how the system didn't give you the same way out. Because one of the things you have to notice about this, and I'm sure Armand, we'll talk about that when we get to targets, but we're treated differently and we're viewed differently. Blacks mostly are pimps. Black women are prostitutes. We're predators. We're the monsters of society. Where when it's another culture, people are not color, or even just say it, and it's not to be, but whites, they're victims, and they were preyed upon. Same thing, same activity, they're looked at differently, so they're given a way out and resources, and we're given time. And so I want you to talk about that situation and how the system is set up, not for us to come out on our feet.
I was 21 when I came into the life, and the night that I got arrested, the first thing the officer said to me was, "You don't look like a prostitute." So Bayview, let me reiterate the fact that you cannot put a face to this. You can be male, female, boy, girl, old, young. There's no face to it. And so when he told me that, he literally took what little bit of identity that I was hanging on to. And so when I was being interrogated, I came up in the error of not snitching. So I chose the route of not saying anything, pleading the fifth. I just kept my mouth shut. And so because of that, I wasn't given the resources of a good lawyer or a good public defender. I was written off as a number. And it's hardening and it's saddening because our women of color are being sentenced to life where others are getting ankle monitors, house arrest, programs. They're viewed as survivors, where we're viewed as just prostitutes. We're not given the same education and awareness that others are getting. They're making us take AIDS and HIV testing and documenting us and putting us, in a health fair somewhere where anybody can just readily access our information. And so there's not enough empathy and awareness, which is why I try to bridge the gap between law enforcement and the court system, because they don't know what a victim of human trafficking looks like. They only know what you see when you Google it. And so when I come and people like me come into the courtrooms, there's no empathy for us at all.
So talk a little bit about how, and I'm trying to think of how you said it earlier, but just the fact that they don't even give you an opportunity. They just immediately, for our community, they don't, you knew what you were doing. Yeah. You were here because you wanted to be here. We don't get the same consideration that everybody else does.
No, we don't get the same consideration. They feel as if that this is a lifestyle because we've glorified it for so long that, oh, she wanted to do it, or she knew what she was doing when she got herself into. They don't look at it like you were taken from your home or you were forced, cohort or duped into this lifestyle. So when you're viewed as somebody that just made a mistake, they're just going to give you a prison term for it.
So trafficking, because talk about trafficking, because it doesn't mean if I'm trafficking you, I don't have to take you to Lithuania or Russia or bring you here. Talk more about that.
The common misconception with that movie Taken was that people thought that you had to be shipped off to another country in order to be trafficked. But really, you could be trafficked from state to state. You can be trafficked from city to city. You can be trafficked from bus stop to bus stop. You can check in at a motel room in room 12 and the next day go to room 13. That's considered trafficking. So the distance of the movement is irrelevant. The way the law is set up, it's all trafficking.
Okay. Quick question. What age would you say, give me the low age and the high age, are at the greatest risk?
I would say nowadays more than ever, 14 to 17 is right now, currently, I would say, was the biggest age group of people entering into the life, especially females.
14 to 17. Everybody in here that's between the ages of 14 and 17, stand up. Look around, Bayview. These are the people who are at risk. Everybody in here that's connected to somebody between the ages of 14 and 17, stand up. Children, grandchildren, stand up. At what point do we realize that's too many people at a risk for us to keep a blind eye? All right, have a seat. You said you were 21, right?
Yes.
Ladies between the ages of 14 to 21, stand up. targets. Now, watch this. Those of you who are standing that don't have social media, sit down. Target. Take your seat. You know why I say that? Because social media, you put yourself in a pond as a fish. Because now everybody wants, we're looking for people to like what we're putting up. So we're willing to expose parts of ourselves that we shouldn't be exposing. We're willing to grow up fast. Listen, I'm pleading with parents. Make these girls stay girls. I'm not putting fault on anybody, but I'm just saying this. It's not good to try to make a monkey sell bananas. You can't have on, these predators are slick. They make money doing what they do because they're slick. And they know how to talk your daughter, your son, especially the ones that say, not my baby, especially your baby. Because you're not watching. You don't know what they do. Armand, so let me just say this without making people feel uncomfortable. Armand knows a lot of young people in this area. He knows young people in our church too. And in these last 2 services, people have come up with a cry for help. In the last 3 years, I know of for sure at least 4 young men and young women who've been taken by this lifestyle. And they weren't troubled children. They were straight A students that sang in the choir, that was in every ministry for young people at every youth fellowship, and they still ended up selling themselves for money right under our noses. While we came in here, was on our way to heaven anyhow. And I'm gonna just say it though, because you got to understand, they know more than you think they know. Watch out when they start acting. When you hear them say, "What up, blood?" They ain't just. I'm gonna talk about how they know how to play the role.
Y'all know how to play the role too. It ain't just them. You started somewhere too. We was all kids at one point in time, and you was a kid in church, some of us, and you know how to talk in front of your mama one way, you know how to talk in front of grandma one way, you know how to act. Oh, I'm at church. It was a switch. That switch didn't end with you. Your kids got a switch too. They know how to talk in front of you about what topics and what not to talk to you about, so they know what to talk to their friends about. But please believe none of them are naive. And social media knew, but them ponds existed when there was no social media. It's called the streets, and the streets got a bigger pool than the church.
That's right.
It got a bigger pool than the teacher, than your parents. You could have both parents. I didn't, but you can have both parents. You can have straight A's. You can be. The people that killed my best friend were 4 kids. They lived in Bonita in a 2-story house, both parents, and they went on a shooting spree because the streets were more attractive and they wanted to be from the gang. So firsthand, I know how appealing the streets are. So you got to be a little more appealing in your parenting than the streets are with their parenting. You know what I mean? You got your daughter being sweet talked by this guy because you ain't sweet talking her and building her up and letting her know how much she worth. Your son is going to the gang because obviously the gang is offering him something that you ain't offering at home. And unfortunately, there are still a lot of single mothers out there who have to work, and they're working and they're tired when they get home. And who's raising your son? Meadowbrook Apartments is raising your son. You know what I mean? And we too tired. I understand it, but we got to get ahead of this because basically, whether you think you providing everything, your kid going to school every day, they got fresh school clothes on, they got the best shoes, all that look real good. But they on their way right now. If you grew up in a 2-mile radius of this church right here, they say, what's an at-risk youth? They all at risk. If you grew up in this neighborhood, you at risk. So my thing is that the streets are appealing. Rappers are the best teacher out there, but not the best at the same time. But that's who your kids is listening to. You got to intervene. And part of my problem and my friend's problem, there was nobody that ever intervened. I can't name you a mentor that stepped in my life, a nonprofit, a church that came to visit my school, Big Brother program that came from people that looked like me and I could relate to. Never happened. And that it's needed. It's needed. 8 young men should not have raised each other. Some older brother and sister should have stepped in at some point in time. You know, and that's where we can make the difference. I'm not harping on what we didn't have. I'm making sure we do this right this time.
It's bothersome and troublesome, and I'm coming back to you, Sierra. It's bothersome and troublesome because we've allowed this to happen. I talked about, and I said it at the last two services. Anybody here remember? Y'all might not because y'all young and y'all make me mad. But anybody here remember the Brady Bunch? Do y'all remember Greg and Marsha would go on at least 2 dates a weekend with 2 different people? You know why they did that? Because a date was just a date. Nowadays, if you sit too close to somebody in class, y'all a couple. Because these young people don't know how to date. They think dating is a relationship. No, dating means we went out, I asked you out, so I'm going to pay for it, and all I owe you is a ride home. Once you get home, I don't owe you nothing. But they don't know how to date, so they want to be in love so bad, they fall in love with the first person to make them feel good. You know, it ain't really I love you, it's I love me. I just like what you do for me and how you make me feel. And when if you a teenager and you in love, you're stupid. Because love and teenageness does not mix. You can't think well on your own as a teenager. You forget to pick your clothes up off the floor. You forget to close the refrigerator. You forget to turn the light off. How you gonna handle somebody's heart? If you in love with a teenager, you're stupid. And I say that with all the love I can muster. And when you're in love and you're stupid in love, you do stupid stuff. Hello, somebody. Adults, don't y'all get crazy. Some of y'all sitting by your mistake right now you made when you was a teenager. Some of y'all still getting child support for some stupid stuff you done. Don't do it. And help me, correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of it starts like that. If you love me, you will, because you become our way out. And you do stuff for somebody that's supposed to love you, and now you out there and you can't get out. So talk about how it's easy to get caught up, and where, you know, it doesn't even have to be you broke. It doesn't have to be you come from a single family home. It can just be you came up against the wrong predator and you lost. Talk about that.
So sex trafficking essentially is a trade. I'm trading a service for a resource. And another misconception is everybody automatically assumes that resource is money. That resource could be anything: food, clothes, car, a place to sleep at night. And so the thing that we have to kind of look at with this epidemic that's going on is, what are our youth lacking right now? What do they feel like they need help with? Because a lot of them are sitting at home watching Keeping Up with the Kardashians, trying to really catch up, you know? And so when I work with my youth at San Diego Youth Services, I check in with them mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. Where you at right now? Because there's a whole lot of red flags that you could look for. Can I get into the red flags?
Go ahead.
Okay, so let's get into the red flags. So red flags, I have some clients that come to me and they are literally Gucci down to the socks and they don't have a job. So check in with your kids. You know, if you see that they wearing something that you necessarily didn't pay for, where'd it come from? Social media, multiple profiles, red flag. I know some of y'all the kids looking at me like I'm dropping a dime right now, but but it's for your protection. You know, this could save your life. Multiple devices, 2-3 phones, that's unnecessary. Why we have so many phones? Parental controls are your best friends. We really need to check in more with our kids, because right now we're in a society where you could walk past somebody and say, hey, how you doing? But you really don't care what their answer is. And right now we're in a society where mom's not calling to check on to see if you at where you say you are. Because I know when I was growing up, there was no way I was sleeping at somebody's house and my mom didn't verify the address, the company.
Come meet everybody in the house in her house coat, doggone it, Betty Brooks.
Letting them know that you got a food allergy. Yeah, all that. So we definitely need to check in with our youth more, because they may look like they're okay, but they're really hurting on the inside.
So listen, parents, that means we have to be proactive. How many of you have children or grandchildren on social media? How many of you on their pages, on their accounts? How many of you in their inbox and their DMs? Because they ain't putting it on the wall. Well, they need their privacy. They got a bill? You want privacy? Pay it yourself. Well, I'm grown. Not in my house. Ain't but one man in my house. You want privacy? You want to be treated like an adult? Pay your own bills. As long as I'm paying the bills, I'm calling the shots. If you can't see, you should take that phone, throw it in the toilet, say you can't either. Get them a butterfly phone, that flip phone with 5 numbers. Well, we've got to be proactive. You know, if you can't see what they got to hide. Now, let me tell you something. I check my son's stuff. I don't expect them to be perfect, because guess who ain't perfect? But I don't want them to be in danger either. Some stuff I'll be like, hey, you need to tighten that up. Or I might say, hey, man, don't let your mama see that. But because I understand, I got a 21-year-old and a 15-year-old. I get it. I wasn't perfect, so I don't expect them to be perfect. But it's my job to guide them. It's my job to say, you might want to rethink that. It's my job to say, now what if? Here's what you want to be. Now what if this happens? And they got to trust you enough to when you see something you don't like, you don't spiral out of control. I have a policy with my sons. Listen, tell me anything, but if I find out, smoke. Tell me anything. You gonna get fussed at, I'm gonna call you a knucklehead. But tell me so we can talk about it. If I gotta find out, we got problems. You should try that. Don't let me have to find out anything. Know up front. Be a guide. Learn how to be a guide. So we got to get into this. Armand just said it. If somebody would have stepped in, I'm sure Sierra feels the same way. If somebody could have called her on the way in, it would have been a different story. I want you, Sierra, to tell about your life once you got out, how hard it was, how damaging it was for you to even get back to normalcy.
So once you come out of prison, you already have to deal with the classic felony disenfranchisement. So finding housing, going back to school, just having your basic needs met, it can be very excruciating. But I was blessed enough to end up at National Crossroads right here on Imperial, where I would spend the next 2 years of my life connecting with my higher power and establishing a safety plan for success so I didn't have to go back down that road again. But what they're not telling you in the courts and the law enforcement's not speaking on is with these new laws and how things have shifted with this pimping and pandering, this human trafficking, they having you register as a 290. And if you don't know what a 290 is, that is a registered sex offender. And so imagine, for one, having to deal with the classic felony disenfranchisement, so you probably have a greater resources, to having that 290 attached to you, now you only got a block. It's very hard for people to come back from that type of struggle. And so for me, he blessed me with some angels along the way. The Agape ministry, they were very instrumental into me reintegrating back into society. National Crossroads, and me going back to school. But not everybody has those options. Not everybody has that blessing. And so finding employment was difficult. That's why I said I'll just start my own business. Going back to school was difficult. I had to find support groups because I was a felon in school. I didn't feel like I was supposed to be there, like I wasn't a part of. I was constantly being triggered and battling myself. And the mental health issues, which is rarely tapped on but is getting great exposure now, is the trauma that is endured by this population. The PTSD is astronomical. They have just the same amount of PTSD as a war veteran. And so it's not really being talked about. So there's a whole lot of untreated valuables that are being shown light on, and it's very difficult.
Talk about some of the things, you talked about some of the triggers that we take for granted, that you were so broken by that lifestyle, that just some of the things you mentioned before that triggered you that people wouldn't even think about.
I know my trafficker, he had me working the internet, and if the internet was slow, you got yourself out there and you started working the street. So when I came home from prison, I didn't know how to talk to people. I didn't know how to communicate with people. I still had some negative core beliefs and issues amongst myself. So me even walking down the street to the 99-cent store to buy hygiene was a trigger. Cars driving past, trigger. Anybody waving, it was triggers. And so just something as simple for us in our day-to-day operation could really tip somebody else over the edge because of those untreated mental health issues and PTSD and trauma that they've endured.
So, are you beginning to see that it's deeper than we think? And I want our young people to know, and I'm looking straight ahead, so I won't look at anybody. I want you to know that we have you here not because we're coming down on you, but because we care about you so much that we'd rather anger you and risk you being mad at us than to lose you forever. So learn to appreciate those parents who get on your nerves asking you questions. Learn to appreciate those loved ones who get on your nerves treating you like you're a child. You are a child. If somebody else is paying all your bills, guess what you are? You're either a child or a prisoner. If somebody's providing you a place to sleep, 3 meals, making sure your clothes are washed, if it's not your parents, it's the prison. And I'm pretty sure you'd much rather have that interaction with parents or grandparents or caregivers. So it's not that we're trying to destroy you. It's not that we're trying to hold you down. We're treating you like who you are. I don't care what society says about you. Remember, you're beautifully and wonderfully made. You're made in the image of God, and you're more than a sex object. Because let me tell you something. It's not just women selling their bodies. It's boys selling their bodies. It's taking a whole turn. It's men buying boys and men buying girls. It's women buying girls and women buying boys. Pimps can be male. That's a gender neutral word. It ain't Don Juan no more. It ain't the big cup with the diamonds on it and everybody got them green suits and purple suits and big hats taking that picture with the cane like this. That's not it anymore. And it can be the very person you're sitting next to right now. Armand said, and correct me if I'm wrong, bro, that it was him and girls he grew up with that made a deal. This is how we go get out. I'm going to protect you, but you go provide this, and we both go get out. Am I right? So it was a business deal. So you have to be careful of the people you're around. You have to be careful of your surroundings. And when people are constantly on you about who you're hanging with and talking to you, it's not because we don't know better. It's because we know better. And so that's why we're here. So what do we do now? Where are we? What's the danger? I really need Bayview to understand that when these young people leave the nest, going to school, going to the park, going to the mall, correct me if I'm wrong, but sex trafficking happens in the mall, right?
Absolutely.
So they're not always at the movie.
No, not at all.
Sex trafficking is happening. They're talking about pimping at Bell Middle School, right?
Everywhere. But yes, we have a program in Bell. I have a 12-year-old. I just had to stop from glorifying the life.
How old?
He's 12. But through my experience, I know that 12-year-old didn't just make this up himself. There's an older person somewhere that's fostering this in him and giving him prehistoric information that don't stand in 2020 right now.
So he's 12 years old, and 9 times out of 10, he's told another 12-year-old.
He was talking to 3 12-year-olds when I caught him.
Are y'all understanding how serious this is? And so we're here because, number one, I love our children too much, and I don't want to have to go to jail behind going to get one of our girls or boys out of nowhere, because we're not letting them be taken. We're just not going to stand for that. And I know I got some fathers and some uncles in here who feel just like me. Listen, it will be smoke in the city before we let another one of ours slip through our fingers. But we've got to make sure that we're listening to the people who know. I'm clueless when it comes to this world, so I'm not an expert, which is why I'm moderating the conversation, but they're having the conversation. So where do we go from here? What do we do? What can Bayview step up and do like tomorrow?
action item coming. But first and foremost, recognize that this is not a new thing. America's foundation is on labor and sex trafficking. That's how most of us ended up here, okay? So this is not new. It's something deeply embedded to American culture, not black culture, not community of culture, colors culture. It's America's culture. There's been brothels. There's been, what's her name, from Gunsmoke, Miss Kitty with her. And it's been the same clientele. We cannot not mention the clientele. Okay, Miss Kitty.
Miss Kitty was pimping?
Miss Kitty was a pimp.
Oh my God.
Okay? So
What my daddy had me watching all this.
now, my mama she got mad at me when I called Miss Kitty out on being a pimp until she started watching it more with different lenses and realized they were turning girls out. And church girls, matter of fact, they was turning them out. And the clientele, we had the sheriff, the mayor, the men folk with their wife at home. The clientele ain't changed. That's why they're not focused on stopping the buyer. Because then we're going to have Judge Whoop-de-Whoop, Congressman Whoop-de-Whoop. And so, human sex trafficking is a big umbrella. I don't know the foreign stuff. I don't know child sex trafficking. They exist, but that's not my specialty. I'm from this culture of pimping and prostitution from urban communities, specifically here in San Diego, Southern California. And we didn't do all that. We don't even know what a trafficker is right now, but we need to because that's the sentence that's coming in. So that'll lead me into what can we do personally or as a church. Each one of you as an individual is around a youngster right now. Educate yourself first so you can teach them right. But right now, our communities aren't being educated on this topic, and we're still walking blindly into a 25-year sentence. And we don't know it until we got it. First time offenders, it doesn't matter. They're waiting, okay? People ain't selling crack like they used to no more. People ain't smoking crack like they used to no more. People ain't gangbanging like they used to no more. So what are we dealing
And
with?
marijuana's legal, so they ain't
And
making no money
marijuana's
off that.
legal, so we all good. So pimping and prostitution became that new hustle. So we got to also be looking for what's the next hustle because the problem's never been faced. The root of the problem is opportunity and resources not being there, poverty. As long as there's poverty, what am I going to do? As somebody growing up in poverty who's getting flashes of this fancy stuff all my life, right? I'm going to want that. But if I don't know how to get it correctly, which something else we can do. Business owners, start employing some of our youth. Start having paid internships for them and show them something different. We did what we did because we didn't know nothing different. That's what was presented to us. We did that. Okay? Be a mentor. Get into these schools. You ain't got to go far Farrell across the street. You know how much pimps and prostitutes came from Old Farrell in the past 10 years and Bayview's right here across the street? What can y'all do? Get active. And if you hear this today and you got a passion for it, you want to learn more, we're going to be teaching more so you can know how to address these issues because they ain't just running up on somebody, oh, I think you're in the game, I need to help you. Nah, they might not even want help if they were in the game. But what you need to be is a human being and treat everybody as a human being, not condescending. Leave that door open that I love you, I'm here for you when you're ready. And I'm not judging you because of where you at right now. We all X something in here.
That's right. Well,
Okay, and don't please, and I used to be in the pimp game, but don't judge me off of that chapter of my life
right.
and confine me to that, nor judge Sierra off of her past. You know, what are we doing now? And what we all in the position here, and there's somebody in here right now that's in the life right now. Somebody approached me
how confident are you?
Last session, somebody walked up to me, this young man with his girl, and said, "Your past is my present." That's what he told me. And he said, "I need help." This was your 8:30. Okay? And for whatever reason, God had me lock eyes with this individual and nobody else. I knew it. Okay? So I could recognize off my lived experience, but y'all ain't been through the pain in the 15, 20 years that I have been to do. So you might not know how to look for these signs, but what I say is just have an open door policy with your people. Okay? So when they're ready, they have a place to come to and build that. You know, there's a lot of services out here that they could take you in. They want to rescue you. They want you to tell on your pimp so we can lock him up. We'll give you 7 weeks of service and throw you right back out there. Build something that people can not just get out of the life, but what do you have for me after that? Okay, all right, you want me to get out. Stop selling dope. Stop selling myself. Then what? And have nothing for me. Build something. Build something. Because people are in this because they woke up at 10 years old and say, "Hey, teacher, I want to be a hooker when I grow up." That didn't happen. A set of circumstances led that person into that situation. Now we're trying to help them get out. and really want to get beforehand and stop them from ever even going in. We'll save them a lifetime of pain and traumas and triggers. She shouldn't have to feel that way walking down that street. I shouldn't have to feel that way driving by Hotel Circle and my mind go back to, and they look at me like, well, you're the one that was doing it. At the time, it felt right. Now it feels like a nightmare I live where none of my friends are standing with me right now. They all dead. So yeah, I was part of that, blindfolded, not knowing what I was doing, but I gotta live with this the rest of my life no matter how clean I am right now. I'm still shedding tears daily, you know? I just buried my last best friend in here in 17. From here. I'm being triggered sitting here. Last time I was in this church besides today was a funeral service for one of my last friends stuck in the game who was killed by a girl on the blade. So I lived this life, okay? So you all, we need you. We needed you. We need you more now because we can bring this to a close. Provide opportunity, resources, and education. And we can change this around. And don't just stand there, do something.
Amen. So from your perspective, what else can we do?
We need to start having conversations that have been swept under the rug for too long. It used to be that the birds and the bees was the most uncomfortable, topic you would discuss with your child. Now you have to check in and make sure that they haven't been exposed to sexual exploitation. And so we also need support groups. We need support groups that are trauma-informed so that we're not doing more damage than good to the population. And we need support groups that are hope-centered, because we don't want to sell dreams, we want to sell hope. There is hope for you. There is life after the trauma. There is a way to turn your opposition into opportunity. And I think by having credible messengers, lived experts like myself and my colleague Ahmad, we are people that can resonate with the population. Because if you're not relatable, it's gonna go in one ear and out the other. Especially with our youth. Because they're gonna look at you like, well, what is it that you can tell me that I haven't experienced already? I've been there, I understand, I know how it feels. I think by having a safe place for these people to come and process their emotions would be a great help, because Las Colinas is a huge ground for trafficking, because the traffickers know what time they releasing the women. So it's gotta be a secure location. You have to be pretty bold to come to Bayview and try to recruit somebody.
Yeah, we got that life.
Yeah, exactly. So a secure location that's trauma-informed and hope-centered, where these women, men, boys, and girls can come and be amongst their peers and know that they are not alone in this struggle.
So, Bayview, how many of you are feeling a little bit like this is our responsibility and this is something we need to do? What that means is going to take people with compassion, with patience, with an understanding that had it not been for the grace of God, it could have been me. It's going to take people like that to reach this population. I say patience because the first opportunity to come out might not work. They might go back. And they might keep going back, like Armand said, but we have to make sure that we have a relationship that when they're ready. I can't tell you how many times I've run into Armand in the streets after a shooting or after we went somewhere, and he introduces me to a lot of people I don't know, but I need to know. And I always let them know, I'm not inviting you to church. I've never invited Armand to church. He's been here, but I've never invited him to church. But the one thing, and you correct me if I'm wrong, bro, looking you in your eyes, you know if you ever need a pastor, you know where to find me. That's how you leave the door open. I don't have to invite people to church for them to see the Christ in me. I can just let them see the Christ in me where we are.
That part.
And so we've got to be willing to take Jesus to places where he might not walk without us. Because he's back in heaven. We're his feet, we're his eyes, we're his hands, and we're his mouthpiece. So wherever we think Jesus needs to be, it's our responsibility to take him. But you've got to be, you can't do it in all white. Because you're going to go some places where people will try to make you believe you shouldn't go. and you'd be afraid to go. And I know Armand thinks I'm a little off because I'm always asking him. I want to go to where it's hot. I want to go to where, it's getting, where those who've been labeled a menace to society are. Those are the people I want to talk to, because those are the people that need to know I'm here for you when you need me, when you're ready. Because I come here every Sunday, but I can make a bigger difference in the streets than I can in the sanctuary, because the majority of y'all on y'all way to heaven. And you don't get, more saved being here every Sunday. So I appreciate you, and we go live right, and we go learn about the Lord, and we go grow closer to the Lord, and we go grow closer to each other. But I want that baptistry to stay in operation. We need more testimony. A lot of our testimony is I looked at my hands, and my hands look new. I looked at my feet, and they did too. I want to hear these testimonies that, I was in prison, and you came and got me, and I never went back to that life. Or I slipped a note in your hand, and somebody wrapped their arms around me, and they got me and my girl or me and my friends out, and we've never looked back. It was God's people that did that for me. And that's what I want us to be. Listen, I'm not asking us to be the solution to the problem, but I am saying we have to serve the population. We don't have all the answers, but we can be an answer for somebody. And I'm challenging you today, just like Jesus challenged those churches and said, listen, last week he said, you better remember, return, and repent, or else. And I'm saying to us, we got to step up, speak out, and speak up, or else. When God puts something in front of you and you turn a blind eye, he says, I'll take away the light from your candles. I'll take away the savor from your salt. You were meant to be a city on the hill, a lighthouse. You know what a lighthouse does? It shines light to people in storms. That's why we're on this hill. We were meant to be a light. And so we got mentoring. We're going to work with Linda, and we're going to infiltrate O'Farrell. We're going to infiltrate O'Farrell. We're going to start there. We're going to make sure. I got too many nieces and nephews across the street. I've been promising them I'm going to show up anyway. So I'm showing up now. And I'm going to be there. If nothing but to give you a hug and say, I love you. If nothing but to give you a hug and say, you're great, you're beautiful, you're smart, you're magnificent, you're unique. Maybe if they hear it enough, they'll start to believe it. Maybe if they hear it enough, they'll start to repeat it. Lord knows they repeat every song they hear. We're also going to start with these support groups, and we're going to be trained by the people who know. So for those who feel like I'm compassionate enough, I want to be a part of this, don't show up already knowing. Don't show up trying to be right. Show up to be helped. Because whatever it is we've been doing ain't been working. And whatever they're doing is working. So let's learn from the people who are having the success. Amen? Closing statement. I'll let you go first, sis. Your last words, if you could leave anything with Bayview, anything at all, what would it be?
I already said it. You can turn your opposition into opportunity.
Let me tell you what she said last service, or the first service. What did you say? Something became a triumph? Your what?
Oh, turning your trauma into triumph.
Turning trauma into triumph. So what was meant to hurt you actually became something that healed you. And that's what we want to do. Because I'm pretty sure. Let me ask you this. I asked Armand this, but how confident are you? Knowing the life, knowing the signs, being able to read people. How confident are you that there's probably somebody in this room? What percentage of a chance would you give that there's somebody in this room who in their life right now but hide it real good?
I have 3 phone numbers in my back pocket right now asking for help.
So, baby, all I'm trying to tell you is the problem is already here. And it's growing. And if not us, then who? If not here, then where? If not now, then when? When do we step up and access this? We claim to have all power living in us. When are we going to prove it? How many folks know you saved? How many folks know you got the Holy Ghost, as they say in the church? If you have the Lord living inside of you, why are you satisfied being powerless? Why are you satisfied being helpless when I'm able to say, greater is he that lives in me than he that lives in the world? And let me tell you something. Wisdom is not knowing everything. It's not knowing every answer. It's knowing where to find the answers. That's why when I got ready to talk about this, I need to go get the people who informed me. I ain't got to be the smartest guy in the room if I surround myself with the smartest people in the city. So Armand, closing statements, bro. What would you leave with Bayview?
Just based off of those 3 numbers in her pocket and the one I got last session, there is somebody in here. There's multiple people in here right now that either on their way out, questioning them being in it, questioning going into the life. You in here right now. So just speaking directly to you, on the legal side, they're not playing right now. Whoever you're getting your information from, or you're getting any information at all, they're not playing with you as a male. You're going to jail for a long time nowadays. They're not playing, okay? So just know that, regardless of what you feel about the lifestyle, just know what your consequences is gonna be. Ladies that are in the game, know that. Find somebody, I don't know how long you've been in, or if you fresh in or whatever. If you've been in the game, find somebody that made it out so they could tell you about that, what you about to go through. Because the stories may be different a little bit, but the trauma, the pain, the stuff attached to it is real. And you're not feeling it right now. You're getting money, you think it's okay right now. You don't realize you're in a game, or they call it. It's not a game. They call it the life. This is no type of life, okay? It took me bumping my head, losing several friends, going to prison. It took me to realize what was brought to me as a game, and the life was really an illusion. And I'm not the only one of me. Many of my friends made it out. Some of them married their girl, had babies by them, working construction jobs, working regular lives. They don't come out and speak like this because they realize and they don't want to relive that nightmare. So if you can catch yourself right now, catch yourself. I'm here for you personally, and now I think the Bayview congregation is here for you. You find that person, those people, and you talk to them, and we will help you find a way, okay? Because right now this seems like this the way, but by all the list of tattooed names on my arm right now, let me let you know firsthand, it is not the way, okay? So for that person, people that's in here, if not here and you see me around or whatever, you get at me. You find me on social media, whatever, and you reach out, all right? We're going to help you. That's it.
All right. Y'all give it up for him. Help me appreciate it. Come on, baby. Help me appreciate Sierra Robinson, Armand King, their courage, their transparency. You can take your seats. I want to, while we're standing, I want every student that's in here, college, high school, I want you to come down front. We want to pray for you. We want to pray for you. We want to pray that God will cover you. I don't care if you're 12 or 2012. Y'all come on, get close. Y'all get close to me. I don't bite. I might punch you, but I love you. Y'all spread out so they can get in. You can spread all the way across Valencia. Y'all go down that way a little bit. Jesus, you tall boy. When you get that tall? Y'all keep scooting down. Keep scooting down. My stomach is turning right now because a lot of these faces I'm looking in, some of them looking down at me. For for some reason, I still see him where I met him. I still see him when they used to run to me and I used to pick him up. Now, if I try to pick him up, his feet would drag the ground. And I can look in their faces and I can tell some of them are like, this ain't got nothing to do with me. I can look at some of them and tell, you've been punched in the face. I can look at some of you and tell, it seems like you've been found out. But one thing I see when I look at you is I see greatness. I need y'all to understand that life can be a trip and the devil is slick, and the only reason you're valuable to him is because you're so valuable to God. If this was a war, your enemy never goes after anything or anybody that doesn't pose a threat. So the fact that there's a war, and listen, it's not a physical war. You can't go fight nobody, because here's what the Bible said: we don't wrestle against flesh and blood. I know a lot of you could have taken a different way. Nephew, I know you. I'm not singling you out, but I know you could have made different choices. I know you've gone through enough where you could have been bitter and you could have turned hateful and been resentful. And I'm not saying you're perfect, but I watch you get better. And I want you to keep it up. But I also see some of you that have had life throw you a curveball and you're going the other way. And it's not acceptable. And we're not going to let go of you. We're not going to lose you. And so it could get a little tense between us, because you could be hell-bent on being what the street tells you you can be, but I'm going to be hell-bent on you being what God says you already are. And there are some people standing here that will tell you, I love you too much to let you think something is stupid. I love you too much to let you believe your own hype. I'd rather you be mad and not speak to me and live than for me to try to be your friend and you get caught up and I got to lay you out in front of here and tell your parents you can get through this. Armand, you lost 4 homies. How many of them thought they would go get gunned down? Because you never think it's you. I started off in in high school. I think our class was 400 and something. I don't even think 300 of us made it across. I grew up in Gary, Indiana, where they said if you made it to be 18, you beat the system. At 19, you can go ahead and die. You already did what you're supposed to do. Just last week, a young man that I watched grow up, his entire life, from the tree of life, was in church on Sunday. Somebody shot him in the head Sunday night. He was standing in the pulpit on Sunday. A year before that, his brother was shot in the head in his sleep. So being in church doesn't mean they're not coming for you. What I want to do is I want to make sure that your parents don't go through what some parents go through every day. It would break my heart to lose any of you to the streets. And I will break your will before I let you break my heart. I will wreck your whole world before I let you wreck your whole life. And it's because I love you. I'll show up at your school. I'll tell on you. I will snitch in a heartbeat. Dancing and snitching. Here he is. Here he is. You got potential, man. You're going to be great. I can look in your eyes and tell you're going to be great. I can watch your demeanor and tell you don't settle for not being great. Repeat after me. I was born to be great. Whack. Repeat after me. I was born to be great. I won't settle for anything less. When life tells you something, remember, I said you were born to be great. Make mistakes, but be great at it. You'll stumble, but be great. You'll even fail, but be great. Because if you fail and learn the lesson, that makes you great. Hurt, but be healed so you can be great. Don't let people determine or diminish your dreams. And if you never have anybody else to talk to, you can talk to me. Now, if it's wild, I'm gonna tell you it's wild. I might talk strong to you, but you can talk to me. I'm here for any and every one of you. Anytime you need something, if I ain't got it, we'll find out where to get it. Don't hurt by yourself. Don't go through anything by yourself, because you got a family here at Bayview Church. You who are in the bridge, listen, find Miss Lisa. Find her wherever she is. She might thump you upside your head, but she'll listen. She's in your corner. She fights for you every day. All we hear is about stuff for the bridge and for the garden all day, every day. Not just her children, but you're like her children. She's making sure that you have everything you need. Every volunteer in the garden, they're all on your side. You can have a way out. You want to go to college? January 31st or something? Black College Fair, I'll be right back. There's some people right now at school and they got hooked up at the same thing. It's coming back. We're giving you every way out you can have. There's no excuse for you not to be great. Lawyer, doctor, president, CEO, CFO, attorney, district attorney, mayor, council person, senator, House representative, philanthropist, Nobel Peace Prize winner, author, journalist, nurse, yes, even entertainer, athlete, Academy Award winner, Oscar nominated, Grammy nominated. That's you. That's your destiny. That's your spiritual sentence to be great. Stretch your hands this way, Bayview. Father, right now in the name of Jesus, I thank you so much for these gifts that stand in front of me. For some of them, it's mind-blowing to see them now and remember where I met them. They're becoming young men and young women so quick. They're so valuable, God, and you've put so much in them. The enemy is going to try to dismantle them because they are weapons against his kingdom. But I pray now, God, that you put a hedge around them that moves where they move. When they are in our presence, God, protect them. When they are out of our sight, God, protect them. Protect their minds from the evils. Protect their spirits. Protect them on social media, in social spaces and places. Protect them in the inbox, in the direct messages. Let them not be body shamed. Let them not be made ashamed because of what they don't have, where they can't go, who they don't know. God, you've beautifully made them wonderful in your image. You made them to be the head and not the tail, above and not beneath. You've made them to be more than conquerors. And so, God, I'm praying that you prove that to be so in their lives. The enemy wants to get his claws in him, but you won't take your hands off him, and neither will we. We'll cry, but we'll hold on. We'll pray, and we'll hold on. We'll fuss, and we'll hold on. We'll hug them. We'll love them. Just like you gave your life for us, we'll spend our life trying to make sure they don't lose theirs. I pray, God, that their ears are open and their hearts are open. I pray that their dreams are fueled by the desires you've given them. I pray that your purpose for them becomes their passion. I pray this prayer right now in the name of Jesus. And all the people of God say together, amen. Y'all show these young people we believe in them right now. All right, y'all go back to y'all seats. Listen, when you see one of these young people, hug them. Let them know you love them. Don't sit down, no, while we're standing. Somebody here today, this is your day to receive Christ. On this day, when we talked about this topic, he wants to save you right now. Maybe you're already saved and you just want to be a part of Bayview Church. You say, listen, here's a church that's making a difference and I want to make a difference. Here's a church that's doing something different. I want to be a part of this solution. We would love to have you as a part of our family right now. If you're here, if you're in the balcony, just run down the stairs. If you're on the main floor, come to the nearest aisle, come down front. Say, listen, man, I want to be a part of the Bayview Church. I want to be a part of everything that's going on. There are some good things getting ready to happen here, and I want to be a part of it. If you're here, make your way down right now. We're getting ready to go. If you give me 5 more minutes, I promise we'll be gone. If you're here right now, just make your way down. Listen, nobody's moving. Here's what I'm going to do. Everybody standing, everybody that can stand, because I'm getting ready to pray. Again, when I'm done praying, I'm going to let everybody take their seats. But if you're here and you're ready to make this decision to receive Christ or unite with the church for fellowship, we need some more problem solvers that are not scared to take back what the devil is trying to take from us. And we need you. If I'm talking to you, if you're ready to receive Christ or unite with the Bayview Church, after this prayer, you remain standing when everybody else is seated. Father, we thank you one more time, God. I've said it all. I've done it all. It's on you now, Holy Spirit. Save as only you can. Redeem and reconnect as only you can. Uncover and unite as only you can. And we'll give you all the glory. We pray this prayer right now in the matchless, mighty, and majestic name of Jesus. And all the people of God said together, amen. Now you can